John Maynard Keynes was a British economist. Born in 1883, he is famous for the way he challenged classical economics, developing a new branch of economics in an attempt to understand the Great Depression. Born the son of a Cambridge economics professor, Keynes too went to Cambridge University, studying a degree in mathematics. However, over the following years, Keynes became more interested in economics, turning his attention to challenging traditional economic thought. He believed that free market capitalism was inherently unstable, and that some sort of fiscal policy would be required to cure the Depression and to run a successful economy. Also, he believed that Adam Smith's invisible hand argument only applied when the economy was at full employment. Inside Keynes' most famous work, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, he argued that public expenditure, taxation and consumption were far more important than other factors influencing the economy, such as saving and keeping a balanced budget. Another of Keynes' famous books, The Means to Prosperity, introduced a theory to combat large-scale unemployment. Within this book was one of the first mentions of the multiplier effect, a very important idea in macroeconomics. His work, especially the work in this book, was taken very seriously by world leaders, most notably by the newly elected President of the United States at the time, Franklin Roosevelt. From the end of the Great Depression up to the mid-1970s, Keynes' work provided the main inspiration for economic policymakers all over the world, especially after World War II, where governments began to borrow money on a large scale in order to eliminate unemployment.
Following Keynes' death in 1946, the world economy began to expand rapidly due to the adoption of capitalistic economic policy by many Western nations, most notably the USA and Great Britain. This post-war boom period, which lasted until the early 1970s, would later be deemed the golden age of capitalism. Capitalism, as per their core econ textbook, is defined simply as an economic system in which three key institutions, private property, markets and firms, all play a key role. This type of economic system, rather than one which is classed as centrally planned, sees privately owned firms play a much larger role in producing the goods and services for a nation's population. Whilst the adoption of such a capitalistic approach did yield prosperity for many during the post-war period, it is thought that this is perhaps mostly responsible for two of the biggest economic challenges that we face in our world today: the growing level of inequality amongst citizens of more developed nations, as well as the destruction of our environment. Despite this belief, it is clear that capitalism, together with the processes of globalisation, have benefited the lives of hundreds of millions of people across the globe. It is likely that capitalism as a process will continue to develop amongst smaller nations as they observe the obvious benefits which come with knock-on effects of capitalism, such as increased international trade and the development of privately owned enterprises. There is evidence to suggest that China, despite being classed as a centrally planned economy, is slowly opening its doors to the notion of capitalism. This is evidenced by 4 special economic zones that are found on the east coast of the country, in which the attraction of transnational corporations has been the main goal.